college football, as of late, I think, has just kind of been in a state of change. Whether it be the portal, whether it be NIL, or whether it be some news that broke last night. And broke's a strong word, but rumblings that broke last night from ESPN, there are deep talks, apparently, that are going on around revenue sharing becoming a reality in college football. Now, if you've watched the show or you've just kind of been in tune with college football for the better part of the last 3 to 4 years, this isn't surprising to you. But seeing this start to gain some more steam, I think it makes it feel like it's a lot closer than maybe we perceived it would be. So again, ESPN reporting they are in deep talks to eventually get to revenue sharing. Now, the legal part of this we'll unpack a little bit more with Pete Nakos. But what we need to know as college football fans is that essentially the NCAA, they're in a little antitrust deal with versus the House. And essentially what we're saying here is against the NCAA, hey, you can't restrict athletes from how they make their money and what they make their money from. And so if they were to lose that, they would owe something like a smooth $4 billion in damages. I'll tell you what, $4 billion, even for an operation like the NCAA, doesn't feel good. So they're trying to settle this thing as quickly as possible. This is going to happen. Okay, this is going to be a thing that happens. And the reason why I think we can come to that conclusion is because this whole story arc is taking the exact same story arc that we've seen other things in college football eventually start as an idea and then eventually become a reality. Like, it's taken the exact same path as the college football playoff did, as NIL did. We're starting to arrive at that place. And I don't mean specifically from this person reported this, then this happened, and this happened. I mean from a macro level, there are 4 phases that I believe are essentially the stepping stones to college football ideas becoming realities. The first is that's a good idea, is phase 1. People are saying that's a good idea, whether it be someone like me behind a microphone, whether it be someone who's on a show at ESPN, whether it be, message board juice. Like there's some rumblings from a fan base level and from a media level of this makes sense. And then it goes from that level to people that have a little bit more influence saying things like that. So that first phase has already happened. We've already crossed that barrier. The second phase is important people openly supporting it. Jim Harbaugh, during national championship media days, is asked about it, and he's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, these are the guys that are producing this revenue. They might as well see a fair share of it. Does that not make sense to anybody else? Matt Rule talked about it. Trev Alberts talked about it when he was at Nebraska. They were already preparing for revenue sharing becoming a reality. People that are important, have influence, openly supporting it, check that box. Phase 1 and phase 2 are complete. Now, phase 3 is the phase that we are currently in right now. And phase 3 is where there are real rumblings. You get the alert on your phone from the On3 Twitter account tweeting out that, hey, Pete Thamel's reporting that there's maybe some legs to this. Or you got reports from Ross Dellinger, hey, this actually might be happening. People that you count on as newsbreakers, Pete Nakos is probably another person that you would group into that category, starting to say, hey, no, this isn't just a good idea. This isn't just something that Jim Harbaugh is talking about. There are people in suits that make decisions that are having conversations about this, and we're starting to move further and further into that sphere. So we are currently in phase 3. Now, phase 4 is kind of a two-parter. Phase 4 is where there's a little bit of silence. So it would not surprise me now if this whole thing goes dark until after the season, or probably pretty conveniently right up until bowl season or before the national championship game. That's where we're going to get a little bit more of some news. But right now we're going into that silence period. This is going to be a talking point for us probably for the next couple of months because we don't know what's going to happen. There'll be silence. And then right around national championship time, bowl season, maybe even rivalry weekend, because that's when some stuff will start to take place when it comes to this whole antitrust lawsuit having to get some finality. Boom. You'll get a report pop up on your phone. You'll hear the On3 Twitter account saying, hey, this is what's happening. Revenue sharing has been approved. It's going down. Here we go. Silence into a final report. That's what's going to happen here. That is phase 4. So what does it mean for us as college football fans? What does it mean if you're a fan of Oklahoma or Tennessee or Virginia Tech? I think what it means is it could be the solution to some of our problems in power conference football. Because so many people right now are frustrated by the NIL-fueled transfer portal moves. A guy's unhappy with what he's making at a school. He ends up transferring somewhere else to make more money. Well, what we're hearing, what the report is saying is that it would likely be a $20 million revenue share annually to some of the big boys, if you will, across college football. So if you are, I'm assuming, a Nebraska or Alabama, you're probably getting $20 million annually to divvy up among your roster. Now, previously it had been, well, we don't like seeing guys change rosters because they want to make more money. Well, now you have more money to help retain your roster. So maybe we see more roster continuity. Maybe we see more guys stay certain places. Wishful thinking, but I think that's one opportunity. Where this is really going to impact the college football landscape, though, is at the G5 level. Because I don't think that revenue sharing, from what I'm understanding of this, is going to be divvied equally to a Charlotte as it would be a North Carolina. And so those schools, they were already hemorrhaging talent from the transfer portal and from NIL. That's just going to be, I think, even more so propelled by this whole move. So unfortunate. That's kind of the way this thing is trending. That's what I would see happening. I don't want that to happen, but I think that's where we're heading. Bottom line here, if we're just going to give our opinion on this, this makes sense. Okay, this makes sense because there's too much money being made for the people that are supporting and providing the product to not see any of it, just like Jim Harbaugh said. And I'm not for the professionalization of college sports. We've been on the exact opposite side of that fence this entire time, throughout NIL, throughout transfer portal, throughout, X, Y, and Z changes in college football. Not that we're anti those moves, but we are anti-professionalizing college sports. But if money is the problem, money might be the solution. You got Ryan Day saying, hey, it's going to take $13 million for me to keep my roster intact. Folks are upset about guys changing schools. Well, yeah, I think we would all change jobs if we were getting $1 million to go somewhere else, right? Like, that's just kind of human logic. Now we are, I believe, more properly equipping different schools across the country to retain their roster. Also, I think it's worth noting here, for bowl games, we're upset about guys sitting out. Who's to say that we don't see more stars playing bowl games? They want to make sure they protect their future financially. Maybe you give them a little bit more insurance financially to play in that bowl game. Also, we're upset with seeing NIL standoffs during the season. You hear horror stories about guys saying, I'm not playing in this game unless I get X amount of dollars. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll just fine you. We'll fine you. You don't want to play in this game? You want to be a professional and get paid professional dollars? We'll treat you like a pro. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. It's a whole other arm of structure that I think could be good for college football. It'd be very, very tough on the G5, which we would hate to see. But if you're a power conference football fan, I think it ultimately could be a good thing for you and how you retain your roster. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.